Green Dragon Gas has reported its first profit in the company's history as it unveils its annual results for 2015. I am very pleased to be joined by the company's chairman, Randeep Grewal. Hello, Randeep.
Hi, Shannon.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, this maiden profit, it's the validation of decades of hard work and in a tough context for the industry, but it's obviously also a clear sign that the company is heading in the right direction.
That's exactly right. I mean, decades is the right answer. I mean, we've been at this since the mid-90s. So it's well over 20 years of dedicated hard work in the coal-bed methane sector in China. But I think the maiden profit has a couple connotations. First, we've clearly turning from the investment cycle onto the profit cycle. So we've turned the corner in terms of just simply making the investments to de-risk the assets onto profitability. Second thing is the consistency of Chinese government good policy towards domestic gas production. That's another component. You've got the rest of the market, as you correctly said earlier, especially in this time of the year. Commodity cycle is tough. Lots of people under a tremendous amount of pressure. In the meantime, here comes Green Dragon declaring a profit. And this is the beginning of, in my view, long cycles of profitability, and we look forward to that.
So take us through the key milestones that the company has achieved in 2015.
I think the fundamental milestone, again, was simply doing more of the same and not having to spend time trying to do something different because what you were doing wasn't working. So I think 2015 has been about redundancy, doing the same thing again and again, but making it more efficient. So our focus in 2015 has been on infrastructure, connecting the wells that we have drilled, getting our compression levels correct, and therefore being able to deliver more volume of gas that we produce into the sales line. And as we look at 2016 and 17, for that matter, if we didn't drill another well, our profitability, our cash flow, our revenues would double on a regular basis year over year, even if we didn't drill additional wells. So that's precisely where we are in the cycle, is really monetizing our decades of hard work is the cycle we're in today.
So let's quickly run through the financial figures you have reported for 2015. Revenue was up 6%. And as I've mentioned previously, the company turned a net profit of $82,000 compared to a loss of $36 million a year ago. Gas output rose 36%. And as you mentioned, it's a result of the production ramp up in China. Any chance you could increase it further?
I think we increased our production, as you correctly said, up to 12 BCF on an annual basis, producing 10 BCF last year over the course of the year. We're very comfortable that this year we'll increase our production again, another 30% to 16 BCF. And we'll do that from the existing wells without really having to drill any more. So we're certainly going to do that regardless. But in addition to that, when we talk about the word profitability, because we're a fixed cost operator, as production levels increase, our net margins will exponentially increase because we're not adding incremental cost. It's the same headcount running the incremental value of revenue which comes from the gas production. While today those wells are producing water, as the water is dewatered out of the coal seam, the gas levels is where our profitability comes from.
And since you have mentioned margins, I think it's important to highlight the fact that the company has the most lucrative gas margins around the world. Quite an achievement.
By a long shot. I mean, I'm not aware globally of any other country or field that provides a better net margin. Couple combinations. Once again, very good Chinese government policy. Domestically, the government is committed to enhancing its gas volume of production from coal-bed methane. It supports that through increased subsidies. So that incentivizes people to deploy more capital. Secondly, as China continues to grow, it's an importer of natural gas. So it does something quite unique, which no one else does globally. It basically takes a view, whatever value it is paying to a foreign party to deliver gas, it will pass that value proposition through a domestic producer. So you might produce in Qatar, you might produce in Australia, and all your cost that is burdened, converted into LNG, including transportation, delivered price, we get that delivered price. So that ends up giving us by far the highest net back price at the wellhead. And considering we have domestic Chinese costs, our costs are quite low, ending up with margins that are quite lucrative. And quite candidly, that's what's kept us going all this time. It was a difficult resource, but you could see the economic proposition, and you kept going to attain that economic proposition, and that's where we've got to after 2 decades, as you said.
And do you feel that what you have delivered so far and the potential you have there and the good conditions in China for your business, do you feel that this is reflected in your share price currently?
Not at all. I do take a view that the capital markets are quite intelligent, and the market probably has taken a view that this is a company that is de-risking an asset, asset in a emerging market. And I think over the 2 decades, what we've demonstrated is that we have the capability, the competency, and certainly the technical aptitude to do so. So if we take a look at where we are today, the benefit of having announced the annual results today, it's not so much the amount of profit, because it's a maiden profit and it is a small profit, but it is a demonstration of a trend that started almost 2.5 years ago, where our net losses constantly declined on a half-year result basis that we issued. And today, it's a net income. And I certainly believe that the capital markets will have a bit of that herd mentality where people will wake up and say, hang on, Green Dragon Gas has turned the corner. It's now no longer de-risking the asset. It's no longer trying to sort things out in the emerging market, in this case, China, that it's working in. All those things are behind it. Now let's look at this massive value proposition, which is in our reserves that are coming online. And I'm certain that the market will reward us in due course.
So to wrap up, Randeep, and to convince those shareholders, you have a vision to 2020, and your vision consists in bringing value forward for shareholders. So what are the key parts of your plan?
Key parts of our plan is present value, the future proposition. So in other words, our view is that we take a look at our 8 blocks, 7,600 square kilometers, 25 trillion cubic feet of gas. That's a very large size project. And of the 8 blocks, I reckon that half of those blocks will be in commercial production over the next 18 to 24 months. Certainly 2 of them are in commercial production today. We'll add 2 more over the next 12 to 18 months. And on the balance 4, we want to bring partners in to monetize that future value on a present value basis. So rather than waiting for us to get to those blocks and develop them, let's say in 3 to 5 years' time, by farming out some of those positions today, using our aptitude and technology, we can certainly have other parties participate in drilling up that acreage and being able to create that value for the shareholders today. So I think you're going to see a very busy company in otherwise a dismal commodity marketplace, but really enjoying the fruits of our labor at this stage is the best way I can probably conclude that.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Randeep Grewal, Chairman at Green Dragon Gas.